Hi, everybody. This is Matt Phelan. I am the Michigan Grassroots Manager for ACS CAN here in Michigan. We're going to get started here now for our legislative update call and lobby day prep call, or day at the Capitol prep call for this year. We have quite a few things to go over. We're going to talk a little bit about our state issues and legislative asks for the day. Then we are going to talk just a little bit about some federal updates before we go into logistics for our day at the Capitol. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andrew Scheppers. He is our Director of Michigan Government Relations for Michigan. He's going to talk about our legislative asks for the day at the Capitol and kind of give us an update of where those stand. So, Andrew?
Yeah, Matt, thanks. Can you hear me all right? Oh, great, thanks. First of all, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining. We're really looking forward to having everyone in Lansing on May 3rd here in the next couple weeks. And so, we've got a lot of good things, I think, this year coming forward, and I hope a lot of excitement afterwards. So, three big issues this year. Normally, we'll be working on oral chemotherapy fairness again. I know it really was a stinger for everyone, including me, last term, how we got so close, but yet still couldn't seem to get over that hump. And so we will be working on that again this year. That will be one of our major asks. Currently, the bill is being drafted with Senator Hansen. He was our champion last year. And he'll be back again this year working on the legislation. But we're in the process of making the sausage, and so it's one of those things where we're just kind of trying to figure out what else needs to go in, what needs to come out, and so we're hoping that Senator Hansen will drop that bill and be ready to go by the time we get everyone together on May 3rd. Our second topic we're talking about is tobacco tax, and everyone should be familiar with this. We talked about it again last year. We're going to talk about it again this year. But I just want to kind of lay down a few aspects in terms of what all this entails. And so for those that are savvy veterans and have been to our days at the Capitol before, especially last year, we talked about this, and we talked about increasing our cigarette tax by $1.50 and then providing parity for other tobacco products. And so that tax rate would bring it up to 81% of what the wholesale rate is for that tax product. But this year we're looking to go a little bit further, and our piece of legislation, which I actually worked on today, and we hope to have dropped and introduced in the House here in the next week and a half. But what it would do is it would provide those tax increases, but then it would take out a special exemption for premium cigars. So premium cigars would be taxed back at the rate at what all the other tobacco products are, back at that 81% of the wholesale. Next, we are taking this new revenue coming in from this, and we're dedicating it to a fund that cannot be used for anything else but health purposes. And so why is this important? Well, now we know that, they can't come and take this new tax revenue and use it for paving roads, or use it for funding schools, or use it for any type of project that the state would have. This would go into a fund that is there to do health prevention, and so both of our cancer and tobacco prevention areas fall within this fund. So we would get funding for those, but it also helps fund Medicaid. And so, we want to ensure, especially with everything that's up in the air with the Affordable Care Act, we want to make sure that Healthy Michigan and Michigan's Medicaid system is strong and able to continue to cover not just that traditional population, but also that population in our Healthy Michigan program. So the funding will be able to be used for that. Now, also out of that, it would say that it would dedicate a part of that new revenue specifically towards cancer prevention, tobacco prevention, and also to help fund our state trauma system. And so it's important that, when we look at tobacco, it touches all three of those sectors all the way across the board. So it causes cancer. People want to go ahead and try to quit tobacco, but it also causes cardiovascular issues and strokes. And so we know that these are the three major areas that could see the support coming from this increase. So, and then with that, we are changing how tobacco is defined in the state. And so, and this is our next topic, but really, changing how it's defined to include e-cigarettes and hookah and any new emerging product that comes up. So it gives the state leeway to go ahead and say, this is a new fandangle type of tobacco that, it's in patch form and it's not regulated by the FDA. So, but it's what people are using to get their tobacco fix, or some type of lozenge or whatever that just isn't regulated by the FDA. It gives the state the ability to go ahead and regulate that and then also tax that as well. So, so we're providing regulations for that. And then the last part of this tax bill is that we're taking out the preemption. And so currently, no other city or county can tax a tobacco retailer. And so what we're going to say is that now you have the ability, Wayne County, City of Ann Arbor, Ingham County, Marquette County, to go ahead and now levy a tax on any type of tobacco product that's sold within that municipality, to go ahead and bring in some revenue that way. And so, with that, we've got a broad coalition that is now interested in looking into this, from hospitals to folks at the Catholic Conference are now interested in this, to folks at the Michigan Municipal League, the Michigan Township Association, and the Michigan Association of Counties. And so we're trying to bring a good group together to say, hey, this is a common sense way to go ahead and raise some revenue that is that provides support to the state. But for groups like us, it's also important to say the public health aspect that is going to be that Michigan will see is so great. And when we can see that over 16,000 kids are going to turn around and walk away from tobacco products just by increasing the sale, or just by increasing the price of cigarettes, like, that's going to be awesome. And so, and we know that we're going to have bigger effects down the line because we're going to be able to put more into our tobacco prevention, and then hopefully seeing more kids turning around and walking away, and hopefully more adults saying enough is enough. I need to quit. I need some help, and they can get it. And so we're really excited about this. Like I said, I was working on the bill today. We hope to have everything introduced and ready to go by the time folks come in May. The third issue we're working on, and really this is kind of the first time that we focused on the governor, but we're going to talk palliative care with the governor. And so ACS CAN brought together a whole group of health professionals about a year and a half ago to really put together and write a report, a white paper talking about the current climate of palliative care in Michigan. And what we found out was everything was all over the board, and that there was a great need for the state to kind of pony up and take some responsibility and create their own commission or body to go ahead and look at the issues surrounding palliative care and provide some recommendations to the legislature to go ahead and move forward. And so we've been working with the governor's office for the past 3 months now to go ahead and get this started. And the governor's office has been very receptive in terms of what we're doing. But what we'll be doing at Lobby Day or at Day at the Capitol, we will have letters on the tables for folks to go ahead and fill out and put into an envelope. And then if you want to take it with you, you can go over to the governor's office and hand it off. If you want to hand it to a staff member, we would be more than happy to collect that, and we would go ahead and hand deliver those letters to the governor. So just so that they see that cancer patients, cancer advocates, caregivers are engaged in this issue and know that the state needs to do more with palliative care, and that it's time for the governor and the administration to stand up and say, we need to take a deeper look into this. And so those will be our three big issues this year. And it should make for quite an exciting day. So with that, I will turn it back over to Matt.
Thanks, Andrew. So with that, while we have Andrew on the line and we just talked about it, I'll open it up for if there are any questions anybody has about our three legislative asks for Lobby Day. We're going to get into logistics in a little bit, but if you have any questions on the legislative asks, you can hit *6 to unmute your line and ask them. I don't hear some. We'll have another chance at the end of the call to ask some more questions too. But thank you, Andrew, for that update and laying out our asks. So before I get to the day at the Capitol logistics and some details of it, I just want to take a couple minutes to talk about a couple federal issues just because they're hot and one of them does tie into what we will be doing at our day at the Capitol. But first issue is the Affordable Care Act. It's been all over the news and hard to get away from it last month. But that issue is extremely important to ACS CAN simply because of the protections that it holds for people with cancer, those that are fighting cancer or may fight cancer, and for what it does for people's ability to afford health care. Simply put, that the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as it's been referred to, has gotten extremely partisan. And so one of the things we've been stressing from the ACS CAN side is that we look at this issue simply through the cancer lens. And the idea of repealing and replacing the law is actually fine if a replacement is actually going to be as good or better than the current law. Quite obviously, as an organization that advocates for cancer patients, we advocate for the law to either be as good right now as what cancer patients have or better. It would make no sense for us to advocate for anything less than that, because what we have currently is better than what we used to have for cancer patients. So with that in mind, when replacement plans have been put forward, and especially the one that the House put forward and was trying to gather votes for, the plan did not tackle affordability in a way that we felt would make insurance as affordable as it is now or more affordable in the future for cancer patients and their families. And so in addition to that, we also felt that it wasn't as adequate as the coverage people currently have right now. And so, as many probably know, that bill never came up for a vote, and many in Congress said they were turning the page and moving on from that law. Sorry about that. And with that, the law that was introduced didn't get a vote, but we have heard rumblings that have come up that they're trying to gather votes for to pass a similar bill or an amended bill. And from everything that we've gathered, all the changes they're making to the current bill make it actually worse for cancer patients. And so things that we thought were safe in previous versions, even the essential health benefits, which are the essential health categories in which an insurer has to cover in every single plan. That includes labor and delivery or maternity services, ambulance services, and a whole host of other issues has to be covered. That's actually being taken on and weakened in new legislation. Additionally, now patient protections, which is extremely important to us. the fact that people can stay on their insurance, on their parents' insurance till 26, the fact that cancer patients can't be held to lifetime or annual caps, that anybody with cancer can't be denied coverage because it's a pre-existing condition. Those are extremely important to those that have had cancer. And that is now starting to be eroded in new versions of legislation in an attempt to get votes from people in Congress that ultimately really want to repeal the law completely and not really replace it. And so basically, as we've heard rumblings, you can expect ACS can, if we feel serious momentum is heading towards any changes that are going to be worse for cancer patients, we are going to be very active. We're going to use our voice and try to defeat that. Now, that's not to say the Affordable Care Act is perfect. It's not. There are some issues with the law, but all those issues can be handled, and they can be addressed if the administration is willing to address them, and if Congress is willing to keep the law and improve upon it and not repeal it completely for something that is far less. So we feel we're in a very good position because we're fighting on behalf of cancer patients and what they need, and so we're going to continue in that vein. The other issue that we're working on right now is cancer research funding. At the end of 2016, ACS CAN was successful with coalition partners nationwide to help push for a passage of a bill that was called the 21st Century Cures Act. And that bill did a lot of things, but one of the main things it did was it infused a lot of money into cancer research funding, with basically the goal of doing 10 years of cancer research in 5 years, or giving a shot in the arm to cancer research. That passed. It was a huge victory for us. It was one of the single largest increases for cancer funding. Ultimately, it's going to be billions of dollars more going into cancer research actually over the next 7 years. So that was a huge victory for us. Unfortunately, right now, the White House has actually released two budgets, one for this current year and one for next year. And in both budgets, they are calling for a decrease in all research funding, and specifically cancer research funding. Most concerning is that for next year's budget, they're calling for a $6 billion decrease in research funding with a $1 billion decrease at the National Cancer Institute. And to put that into perspective, a $6 billion decrease to the NIH would be historically one of the largest cuts ever to research in our country's history. And it would represent almost 19% of their budget being cut. So that is a huge concern to us. And $1 billion at the National Cancer Institute being cut would basically wipe out all the gains we just had in 2016. I'd also mention that we passed the legislation in 2016 with wide bipartisan support. In fact, 15 of the 16 members of Congress from Michigan voted for that. Half of them Democrats, half of them Republicans voted in favor of that. So it had wide bipartisan support. So we know there's support for cancer research out there. However, we've heard rumblings from some of those members of Congress that they are changing their tune on research. And that happens sometimes. So we are going to continue to fight to make sure that we defeat any cuts to research. So with that, I'll open it up. If anybody has any questions about any of the research or Affordable Care Act stuff, just hit *6 to unmute your phone, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. It's a quiet crew tonight.
Hi,
right,
Matt.
and then go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to ask if we could get, I know that you sent in your email the oral chemofax and the tobacco, but can we get maybe like a bullet point on the third ask, the family care, stuttered that, to, get that before we go, just to kind of do a little research on our own, and maybe the top few on the cancer research, just a couple little bullet points just to have prepared for it?
Yeah. First off, the one reason we don't we haven't sent anything on cancer research. That most of the day is focused on state issues, so we're not really going to tackle that. We didn't want to confuse people on what issues we'll actually talk with legislators about. The reason I mentioned cancer research tonight is because in our day at the Capitol, our end event at 2 o'clock in the Capitol Rotunda, we're actually going to do something slightly different than we've done in the past, which is we're actually going to do a research rally. We've never focused on a federal issue, mainly because we don't want to mix the two at our day at the Capitol. But this year, because of those research and how drastic it is, we felt that that was a good venue for us, having everybody there to bring in some speakers to give perspective on cancer research, and then to take action right there at the Capitol by filling out some letters to send to their members of Congress and taking action online. So that's why we talked about that. So.
Okay.
So, and then on the other thing, the palliative care, we didn't send that out because we didn't have it approved yet. We're still waiting for our palliative care one-pager to be approved. So once that's approved, we'll probably send it out with the other materials again for everybody to be able to review.
Yeah, we should have it in the next couple days.
Yep.
Sounds good. Sounds great.
Any other questions on those issues before I run over some logistics for the day at the Capitol? Okay, I don't hear any other questions, so I'm going to move into our logistics for the day at the Capitol. So the first thing I just want to discuss for our day at the Capitol is that this year we're moving to a different location. In years past, we've been at the House Office building across the street from the Capitol. We're now going to be one block east of that at the Radisson Hotel in downtown Lansing. The address of that is 111 North Grand Avenue. It's pretty easy to get to. The best parking for that is there is a ramp right 1 block north of the Radisson. That is a City of Lansing parking lot. It actually on the 3rd floor is attached to the Radisson. You can walk right over on a crosswalk into the Radisson. So that's where we're directing everybody to park. You're welcome to park in any of the ramps in Lansing, but that's probably the best option and most convenient for most people. So we recommend that you park there. Also in my emails, I sent out that we're offering carpooling. So if anybody's still interested in carpooling, please email me. I've gotten emails from some people, and we're currently putting groups together, and we'll be in contact with everybody about where we'll be carpooling and who, and getting people in touch with each other so that they can share rides to Lansing. So we will be doing that again. One of the other things that was in the email that I sent recently to everybody is that we are once again doing our suits and sneakers awareness as part of our Coaches versus Cancer. We do a suits and sneakers event. It raises awareness for cancer. We like to match this with our day at the Capitol because we have worked with the leadership and the legislative leadership, and they have sent letters to all the legislators asking them to wear their sneakers that day to basically as part of this cancer awareness. And for us, it's a great icebreaker as we go into our meetings to thank the lawmakers that are wearing their sneakers because cancer is so important, and segue right into what we want to talk about as far as cancer being a top priority for them. So we're asking everybody that comes to feel free to wear your sneakers. We're going to do some walking anyway, so you want to be comfortable, but definitely wear your sneakers or tennis shoes for the day. The next thing, are there any questions on that before I move forward? Okay. Moving on to what the day will kind of look like. So our event officially will start at 9:15, but registration will be open from 8:30 to 9:15 that day. This year, for the first time, we're going to have outside the room some different tables highlighting some of the things that we do through ACS and through ACS CAN, so people can have a little more exposure and see kind of everything we do. And I think that's going to be a really cool addition to our day at the Capitol this year. But the first, from about 9:15 to 11:30, we are going to kind of go over the issues that Andrew talked about earlier in a little bit more depth, and kind of prepare people for their meetings of how to talk to a lawmaker, what kind of things they can expect lawmakers to say, responses to be prepared for. So we really use that morning to really prepare you for the legislative meetings we're going to have in the afternoon, so you're ready to have those meetings and make those asks and respond to questions they may have. So at 11:30 to 12, we'll do our lunch, and then at noon, we're going to head out to the House office building in the Capitol for meetings with lawmakers. After those meetings, we'll then go to the Senate. In that transition, those will be times that if people want, as Andrew said, they'll be able to drop off their palliative care letter to the governor's office if they so choose. But we are currently right now scheduling appointments for everybody with their senator and their rep. So we will have a list of appointments when you get there of what scheduled times we have. We're usually pretty successful in getting a scheduled time to meet with either staff or the representative or senator themselves. Once in a while, we can't confirm a time, and we have to kind of drop by the office. But for the most part, almost everybody will have a time and have an idea of whether they're meeting with legislator or staff. Meetings with staff, we always want to let people know, are just as important as meetings with the legislators. And in many cases, the staff are actually the people that do all the hard work on legislation, and actually in some cases know the issues even better than the legislators themselves, especially when you talk to Senate staff, because the Senate has a larger amount of staff. They have people that actually cover specific issue areas like health care, and so they are the expert in the office on those issues. So it's very important that we look at staff meetings and legislative meetings equally. One thing you will need is that you will need your state-issued ID to get in the House office building and the Senate building. So make sure you please bring your ID with you because we will need that. Other things that we want to make sure, since we're doing legislative meetings, we want to make sure that we're wearing either business casual or business attire. But once again, feel free to wear your sneakers with that. We will be. So I think that's really important. And then, as I mentioned before, we will be providing lunch, and we will have coffee in the morning for everyone this year. So one last thing I did want to mention is everybody attending that registered, we sent out petitions. We have these Prevention Michigan Tobacco-Free petitions that kind of talk about what Andrew talked about with our tobacco tax increase and what we're trying to do. And we've been collecting those petitions for about a year now, and trying to get as many as we can so that we can deliver those to our state Senate, to our state senators when they get there, just to show a level of support within each of their districts of how people support this issue. And so we sent 20 petitions out to everybody, and our ask was simply, if you can take those petitions and get people in your city to sign those and bring them with you to Lobby Day, we'd like to add those 20 petitions to the top of your pile to be delivered to your state senator. We ask that everybody get them from your city because we won't have time that day to sort them if they're from a different state Senate district. So if you get them from your city, they're going to be in your state Senate district. We'll be able to add them to your pile, and we'll be able to go out and deliver those. And we've had a lot of successful petitions in the past. It really highlights the kind of support and the way we do it. It shows a lot of support in their district. So that's all I had on the logistics for the day at the Capitol. I think at this time, I'll open it up one last time for any questions. If anybody has any questions on not just the logistics, but if anything came to mind on the other issues, we'd be happy to answer those now. Anybody have any questions?
Matt?
sorry, I missed
Hello?
that. Was
Yeah,
that a
is there anything
question?
about carpooling?
Yes, I mentioned that we're doing carpooling, and if you're interested, to shoot me an email, because everybody that's contacted me, we're kind of putting them in groups right now and figuring out, and we'll be in contact soon with those people of who else wants to carpool from the area, or ACS staff that might be coming from that area, so we can arrange that. So if you're interested in carpooling, please contact me, email me, and let me know so that I can get you on our list and we can match people up. Thank you. Any other questions?
Matt, on the petitions, then, we don't want duplicates of people that we've already hit, like last fall that we collected, correct?
Yeah, ideally, no, we wouldn't, because we will
Okay.
have those petitions already in your pack for the Senate.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Well, if any questions do come to mind, in the meantime, you can email Andrew or myself, or give us a call, and we're happy to answer those. And we will be doing another follow-up. First off, we'll be emailing everybody a recording of this call, so that you can refer to it again if you want to listen to it again, or for those that couldn't join, they can listen to it. And we'll include those one-pagers, once again, in that email out, so that everybody has those, and we hope to have the palliative care one at that time. So with that, I want to thank everybody for joining the call tonight, and we look forward to seeing you on May 3rd in Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. These things are perfect for something like that.